Now, on the way, we catch up with Adrian Russell from Ringwood, who wrote a thriller book whilst he was having treatment for Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he's going to tell his story in just a moment.
Pure drama on BBC One.
Memories can resurface, wounds can reopen. Truth is rarely pure and never simple.
Sherlock continues.
I know this is difficult, but you've got to keep it together.
You're going to tell the truth, Mycroft, pure and simple.
You have no idea what you're dealing with. None at all.
It's not a game anymore.
There's a place for people like you, the desperate, the terrified, the ones with nowhere else to run. What place? 221B Baker Street. See you in the morning.
Sherlock continues Sunday night at 9 on BBC One.
And it's the final episode, isn't it, this weekend, this Sunday night. 7:27, good morning from me, Julian Clegg, BBC Radio Solent. Welcome along. Now, imagine waking up like this one day.
As he drifted up through layers of sleep, David Lane began to sense that something didn't feel quite right. He reached instinctively for the comforting edge of his mattress. It wasn't there. And where was the duvet that usually kept him warm? His pulse quickened. Reaching further, trying again to find the raised mattress edge, his fingers grasped something that felt like straw. Straw! His eyes shot open. He found that he was not in his bed at all, but lying on the floor of what appeared to be a cavern.
I'm already gripped. Intense. What you had is an excerpt from a new book called Nothing Left But Fear, written by Ringwood author Adrian Russell, and tells this story of kidnappers who leave unsuspecting deadbeats vulnerable and alone. However, these deadbeats, together with an unsuspecting guest, soon find they are not actually alone at all. Adrian, do you like our synopsis there? Adrian is with us now. Good morning.
Good morning, Julian. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm already excited about this. Where's the TV series? So, look, welcome along.
Thank you very much.
Before we do the book, let's just talk a bit about you and Hodgkin's lymphoma. I was just saying that's something my mother-in-law had. Tell me what it's been like for you, and when were you diagnosed?
Well, actually, I was diagnosed, and it's imprinted in my brain, was the 17th of December 14. That day is always, I think, for anyone that's had cancer. And then I started my chemotherapy on the 31st December 2014, New Year's Eve of all days. And it was pretty horrendous. It's not a nice thing to go through.
And what did it mean? Just to explain for people what it meant for you, and how, and what were the symptoms?
The symptoms, I had a lump just underneath my jaw here.
Which is what Alwyn had, yeah.
Okay, and originally I went to the doctor, and this is why it's so important. If you've got any lumps or bumps, please go and see a doctor. Yeah. He originally just put me on some antibiotics, not realising that it was actually that. But he said, we won't leave it there, we'll send you off for an X-ray and a blood test. But that didn't show anything up. And at the time I was working in a business, and it all it just hit off, and I didn't have the time, and I'd left it. And it was only in November that I, in fact, my wife happened to go to see the same doctor and said, "Where's your husband? I need to see him." And anyway, I went in. Eventually, went to Poole Hospital, sent me to an ear, nose, and throat lady, who put this thing down my nose, which was pretty horrendous. And I also had a lump on the back of my tongue, which I wasn't aware of. But funny enough, and you know, there was an advert series saying if you have a cough and if it persists, think about it.
I do remember that, yes.
Well, when I look back, I did have a cough, but I didn't really think too much of it. So, and I wasn't aware of that. But anyway, long story short, they put me through a load of tests, which some of the tests weren't particularly nice. And then finally I was diagnosed on the 17th of December. But I have to say, the NHS were absolutely fantastic. They got me through those tests very, very quickly. And once they diagnosed me, they got me in straight away. But interestingly, and I don't know if anyone's going through that at the moment, it's quite, for me, I didn't take it very well. I was in denial.
Really?
Yeah, I was.
How did that manifest itself?
For about a week, I put my wife through hell because I was saying I'm not sure I can go through the chemo, and I was given if I didn't go through it, my doctor said, well, you've got literally months to live if you don't,
right? Which
is quite a show-stopping moment. But eventually I read the little booklet that they gave me, and I read through all the different emotions, and they pick up on all the different emotions that you go through. And it was only when I was reading the bit about denial, I suddenly thought, that's me. And all of a sudden, the following day, I was just so emotional. I just couldn't hold it together. I'm not ashamed to say it was just horrendous.
Yeah.
And
so you were overwhelmed by it all.
Absolutely, it's suddenly all just. I don't know, because of course I've not gone through something like that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's almost I had it all pent up, and it all just came out about a week later. And then I decided, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to fight. I'm going to survive this. And I think the thing that was in the back of my mind, quite a few years ago, a very good friend of the family died of cancer. And he said to me, if you ever get cancer, don't go through chemo. It's absolutely horrendous. He was having a horrendous time. And I was only talking to his son only fairly recently, and it just so happened that he's gone through a different type of cancer. And when we were talking, he said, when he said, what sort of cancer did you have? And he said, well, that's the cancer that my dad had. And I had no idea that he'd died of the same cancer I had. And possibly if I'd have known that, I might have thought, oh, well, there's no point. So, but I would say that it is worth it.
It is. There is a point, and you should do it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, look.